Hi, I'm Annora with Mandy Spring Nursery, and today we're going to be pruning hydrangeas. So we carry a few different types of hydrangeas here. We carry Panicle hydrangeas, which like this Bobo here. We carry Arborescens hydrangeas, which are the Annabelles that are really popular with the big white blooms. And then we carry Macrophylla hydrangeas, like the Bloomstruck and Summer Crush. Those are the ones with the big blooms that can turn blue with acidic soil. So we're going to start pruning the Panicle hydrangeas. And so this is a Bobo, so this is a dwarf variety. So you can see it stays pretty small. And it'll bloom on old and new wood. If you have a larger hydrangea, like a limelight or vanilla strawberry, those will want to get pretty big. And what you can do is prune them down to about 18 inches or so. And in that case, they'll shoot up with new growth, and you can expect about a 2 to 3 feet growth a year. But you'll get fewer blooms that way. So the best way to get the most blooms is just to snip off the blooms themselves. And we snip off the blooms because the snow will weight these down, and as the plant kind of has less of that new growth, the stems get brittle and they'll snap in the winter. And so we'd rather control that and control the shape. And we also prune for shape. So typically for a hydrangea, you want it a little kind of a rounded shape, so a little taller in the center here and a little shorter on the sides. I'm just using a Felco 6 pruners. They're a great kind of multi-purpose pruning tool. Take care of a lot of stuff with the Felcos. So we have all of the blooms off, and so now I'm going to kind of prune it for shape. So maybe take some of these stems on the edge down a little bit. Get back, look at your work. That looks pretty good. You have a nice shape. Next up, we're pruning this hydrangea tree. And so this is a gorgeous limelight hydrangea tree that we have here in the yard. And similar to the Bobo hydrangea that we just pruned, we're pruning this one for shape so that it has this nice, neat dome appearance, so that in the winter, the snow kind of mounds on it nicely, but you're not getting breakage in the stems. So we're going to start by just snipping off all the blooms, and that'll give us a nice clean slate to work on. Okay, and so now since all of the blooms are gone, we can kind of step back and see what it looks like. And you can kind of see it's a little flatter on top here, so I might trim down these sides to get a little bit more of a dome shape in this tree. And then also if you trim close to a bud at an angle, it'll shoot out new growth on either side of that bud. And so that creates a more bushy, more full head on the trunk. So take down these side ones a little bit. You can actually see on this tree where they were pruned last year. So this is where they're pruned, and then it shot new growth on either side of that. So pruning helps keep the head nice and full on these. The other thing we're pruning for is we want all the branches to be nice and sturdy, like these ones. So kind of selecting branches, you know, that are looking strong. Like this one we want to keep because we want it to fill out nicely on this side, and this branch will grow nice and strong over time and kind of keep leafing out, whereas, you know, this maybe isn't serving us so much. All right, and so that looks pretty good for now. In the spring, if you kind of notice anything wonky happening, or want to revisit it, you can prune again in the spring just before it emerges, just before all the new growth emerges. And so that's also a good time to prune hydrangeas and get them a little more cleaned up. All right, and so here we have an Annabelle hydrangea. So this is a Hydrangea Arborescens, a smooth hydrangea. These bloom only on new wood, and they have those big white blooms, and they're really popular in kind of hedges and everything. So these, since they bloom on just new wood, you can pretty much take them down to the ground. So leave about 6 to 8 inches and just prune away. The pruning on these helps to keep them healthy, so they'll shoot back up next year. And you can even prune kind of right after they're done blooming. If you start to see some flopping as we enter into a rainier fall, you can prune them right then. But these are pretty basic, just 6 to 8 inches, and have at it. All right, and so now we are going to prune some Hydrangea Macrophylla. So these are the Summer Crush, the Bloomstruck, the Endless Summer hydrangeas that we carry here. These ones you want to leave about 18 inches of growth on there. And similar to the other ones, you just want to clean them up, remove some of the blooms, maybe shape them a little bit. This one has a little bit wonky leaves happening, but you don't want to prune too far. These bloom on new and old wood, and you want to leave as much of that old wood as possible. Again, in the early spring, before the leaves emerge, you can test any branches that are brittle and prune those off. And so this one, we're just gonna snip this bloom, and again, snip it kind of right above a node, and it'll send out branching with that node. And so this one, I'm just gonna clean up these branches that are growing a little bit sideways and get those cleaned up. As you can see, not as much pruning with these guys because you do want to promote that new and old growth. So keep them about 18 inches and they should overwinter well.